GenoCyber is an anime that stands out for its dark and turbulent narrative, filled with violence and horror. The story revolves around a secret scientific project known as GenoCyber, a program born from a ruthless quest for military power by a clandestine government organization seeking to develop a devastating force that could be used as the ultimate weapon in international conflicts. The story begins with two sisters, Elaine and Diana, who are subjected to brutal experiments by this organization and a mad scientist. These experiments involve the implantation of cybernetic devices in their bodies and genetic manipulation to unleash destructive psychic powers. Elaine ends up being killed at the hands of her sister Diana, who is under the control of the organization. However, Elaine makes telekinetic contact with her sister, and the two decide to fuse, becoming GenoCyber, a monstrous being with the power to destroy entire cities through its uncontrolled psychic abilities. After a fierce battle, GenoCyber escapes from the organization's agents. But unfortunately, when Elaine finds her only friend lifeless after falling from a building, she releases a massive power wave that wipes out all of Hong Kong, consumed by rage and grief. This marks the birth of a merciless and uncontrollable version of GenoCyber, whose only goal is destruction. Throughout the series, dark themes are explored, such as the ethics of human experimentation, the abuse of power by secret organizations, and human suffering. Violence is constant, with shocking scenes that include mutilation, murder, and large-scale devastation. In addition to the protagonist's sisters, other dark and disturbing characters come into play. Unscrupulous scientists, corrupt military officers, and ruthless conspirators, each with their own sinister motivations and a willingness to do anything to achieve their goals. The series takes place in a grim, decaying world where corruption and despair are the norm. Cities lie in ruins, society is on the brink of collapse, and hope is practically non-existent. Both Elaine and Diana face existential crises throughout the story. Elaine confronts the horror of what she has become and the loss of her humanity, while Diana seeks to destroy her sister and put an end to the devastation unleashed by GenoCyber. Akira is an anime film set in a version of Tokyo devastated by a Third World War. In the year 1988, after a nuclear explosion destroys the city, the Japanese are forced to rebuild their skyscrapers and find new ways to organize the political structures of the country. 31 years later, in the year 2019, Japan has become a cyberpunk dystopia flooded with high-tech devices, while growing social inequality leads to a rise in crime. Additionally, the corruption of the ruling class and the excessive brutality of the police push the masses to their limits, with extremist groups burning with a desire to change a world in decline. The city is plagued by violent biker gang wars and protesters rioting against unfair taxes. Rebuilt from the ashes of the Third World War, it is a neon-lit technological dream of computers and rising science, coupled with the social nightmare of corrupt politicians, a reckless military, and an oppressed working class. If we add to this the emergence of a powerful race of humans with great telepathic and telekinetic abilities, Neo-Tokyo seems like it's about to explode. In this post-apocalyptic world, we meet the character Kanojo, the leader of a biker gang, who, along with his friend Tetsuo, finds himself in the middle of a confrontation with a rival gang. Unfortunately for them, Tetsuo crashes into the figure of a small boy who has a strange, mutated appearance. It turns out that this child has escaped from a top-secret government experiment studying this race of humans with powers, as I mentioned earlier. After this encounter, Tetsuo discovers that he now possesses astonishing telekinetic abilities, becoming an extremely powerful being who little by little becomes corrupted by his own power and will use his full potential to unleash destruction. All while uncovering the truth about Akira, a godlike figure shrouded in rumor, a source of cosmic power supposedly hidden somewhere, who was apparently responsible for the explosion 30 years ago when his powers went out of control, thus causing the Third World War. The story follows Jujuzawa, a high school student who prefers to stay away from social relationships and lives a quiet, solitary life. However, his life takes an unexpected turn when he meets Ama Ochibana, a mysterious girl who claims to be his servant, telling him that in a past life he was the king of an ancient continent and that she was his knight. Thinking Ame must be delusional, Ju tries to keep his distance from her. But when one of his classmates is murdered, Ju decides to keep her close, believing the strange girl might be involved. However, Ame's intelligence and skills quickly prove to be invaluable as the two begin to work together to solve the murder. Together, they investigate these cases, unraveling conspiracies and dark secrets. This psychological thriller presents 2 episodes, each focusing on different ways people try to rationalize their own trauma. The first episode centers on a serial killer who was a victim of abuse and who develops an obsession with capturing the fear on his victims' faces before they die. He then displays the victim's body publicly for others to find. The second episode focuses on a twisted game called the happiness game, where people try to steal the happiness of others to make themselves feel better about their own miserable lives. Each 40-minute episode shows characters going insane, or perhaps they were already insane, but were left wondering, are they truly mad, or was it something that pushed them over the edge? Much of the anime explores the psychological state of people who, unfortunately, succumb to traumatic experiences. Because of this, many of the antagonists come to believe that happiness can only be obtained by taking it from others. Despite its short length and the lack of a full adaptation of the light novel it's based on, Electromagnetic Girlfriend creates a unique and captivating atmosphere, and the suspenseful scenes keep viewers on edge.
排除されるのはあんたの方だよ!
Mirai Nikki, also known as Future Diary, is a survival game story where the grand prize is becoming a god and gaining the ability to change the world forever. Yukiteru Amano is a lonely boy who spends all his time writing a diary on his cell phone, documenting everything from the point of view of an observer. He also talks to his imaginary friend, Deus Ex Machina, the god of time and space. One day, Deus turns out not to be just an imaginary friend, but a real god. And not only can Yukiteru see and hear him, but so can 11 other people. This god creates a survival game, giving each of the 12 players a diary that predicts the future. The rules are simple. The 12 diary holders must kill each other, and the last one standing will become the next god. As expected from a survival game, it wouldn't be complete without its contestants. These participants, known as future diary holders, each receive a diary in a unique format, ranging from a smartphone to a sketchpad to a scroll, each showing different kinds of future-related information. Also worth noting is that the contestants have a wide variety of marked personalities, from a terrorist to a child prodigy to a man seeking justice in his own twisted way. But if we have to talk about an interesting character, without a doubt, the one who steals the spotlight is Yuno Gasai. She might appear to be the typical perfect girl, popular among students, academically gifted, and an ideal young woman overall. But behind that exterior lies a girl with deep insecurities and deeply disturbing tendencies. Her obsession with Yukiteru is completely insane, as she's willing to hurt or kill others just to stay by his side. In fact, she won't hesitate to sacrifice anyone, because for her, the only thing that matters is her love for Yukiteru, and that both of them survive the game so they can reach their happy ending. Of course, in this survival game, the stakes are life and death. In the end, there can only be one winner, and everyone is on their own. There's no room for two. Luckily for Yukiteru, Yuno is madly in love with him and is willing to remove every obstacle in their path, which basically guarantees his survival. But there's a problem. Yukiteru is peaceful and insecure. He doesn't feel comfortable or capable of killing others to win. He believes everything could end peacefully, a belief that completely contradicts the mindset of his partner. This is a world of alliances, betrayal, strategy, power, and in the end, only one can win. There's a rumor that if someone is making your life a living hell and you want revenge, there's a website you can access. but only at midnight. It's known as the Hell Correspondence. Once you enter a name there, Enma AI, also known as the Hell Girl, will appear before the client and hand them a straw doll with a red string tied around its neck. If the client truly desires revenge, all they have to do is pull the string. And at that moment, Enma and her helpers will drag the target straight to hell. But there's one catch. Once the deal is made, the person who used the site will also go to hell after they die. The anime itself is mostly episodic, with each episode focusing on a different person and the suffering they're experiencing. This ranges from people dealing with bullying, medical negligence, and all kinds of injustice. Naturally, viewers feel curiosity, wanting to see whether the person will pull the string, just so the evildoer can suffer what's coming to them and pay for their actions through a horrific experience before Hellgirl and her helpers drag them to the underworld. The main experience of the anime is getting to know and feel sympathy for these characters, people who are desperate enough to call upon Enma in order to end their suffering. And once the revenge is carried out, the victim may feel some relief, but they're also left with a mark on their chest, a reminder of the price they'll have to pay with their own soul once they die. There's also a reporter named Hajime and his daughter Tsugumi, who has a kind of psychic connection with Enma. Together, they try to prevent people from using the website, doing everything they can to keep others from falling into its trap. But can the inevitable really be stopped? Evangelion is set in a post-apocalyptic Earth that's being attacked by powerful creatures known as angels. Because of this threat, scientists have created a kind of giant cyborg called Evangelions, or Evas, which can only be piloted by specially selected teenagers. One of them is the protagonist, a 14-year-old boy named Shinji, who is recruited by his father, a cold and distant man who runs the secret intergovernmental agency that created the Evas. The purpose of this organization is to defeat the alien angels, gigantic beings bent on destroying the human race. The Evangelions are humanity's final weapon, the only thing powerful enough to stop them. The teens are placed inside a cockpit filled with an amniotic-like liquid, and their nervous systems are connected to the Evas, so their bodies and minds are directly linked to the giant robotic machines. This bond runs deep. Throughout the anime, the pilots struggle to define themselves inside and outside of the EVA units, facing mental breakdowns and questioning who they are and what really matters to them. Although Shinji doesn't want to fight, he's forced to, because if he doesn't, humanity is doomed. He, along with Rei, Asuka, and the other teen pilots, find themselves at a crossroads throughout the entire series. Because let's not forget, they're just teenagers who should be living normal lives, but instead have to risk everything fighting terrifying angels with biblical appearances. And they can't afford to lose, because if they do, everyone dies with them. Neon Genesis Evangelion explores many themes: psychology, religion, and philosophy. As we go further into each episode, things keep getting worse, and we're left with more questions than answers. On the surface, it's a mecha anime with a dystopian world, one that subverts the idea of angels, portraying them in a faithful yet horrifying form as the true enemies of mankind. But on a deeper level, it dives into human emotion, moral choices, and the inner struggles of these teenagers, who silently wonder whether they truly believe in something, or if they're just resigned to a single, inevitable fate. The battles between angels and Evas are brutal and bloody, and the emotional and psychological damage shown reflects how fragile the characters are as they grapple with the reality that the world could end at any moment, while they just want to live a normal life they'll never have. Made in Abyss is an anime that plunges us into an enigmatic and dark world where adventure and danger are deeply intertwined in a place known as the Abyss. The story follows Riko, a young orphan who lives in the city of Orth, built around the Abyss, a massive, deep hole in the earth filled with unknown wonders and horrors. The story begins when Rico finds a mysterious robotic boy named Reg, who seems to have lost his memory. Reg possesses supernatural powers, including a powerful weapon built into his arm. Together, they set out on a journey into the depths of the abyss in search of Rico's mother, a famous abyss explorer, or cave raider, who disappeared long ago. As they descend through the layers of the abyss, they encounter a series of wonders and deadly threats. The upper layers of the abyss are filled with strange and dangerous creatures, while the lower layers hold even darker and more disturbing secrets. The deeper they go, the more perilous the exploration becomes, and the characters face physical and psychological challenges that test their courage and determination. One of the most disturbing aspects of the series is how it explores the obsession with knowledge and the desire to reach the bottom of the abyss, despite the deadly risks. Cave raiders often sacrifice their lives and health in search of answers and treasures, which raises moral and ethical dilemmas. As Rico and Reg continue their descent, they face increasingly lethal trials and discover horrors that defy their understanding. Rico's longing to find her mother drives her forward, but also places both her and Reg in constant danger. Beyond the physical dangers, the series also delves into the psychological consequences of exploring the abyss. There's a curse that affects those who ascend from the lower levels, causing increasingly severe symptoms the higher they try to return. This curse adds a dark and mysterious layer to the story as the characters struggle to survive and understand the true nature of the abyss. And by the way, the author of the Made in Abyss manga has a very dark past. If you're curious about that, let me know in the comments, and I'll make a video about the darkest mangaka in the industry. Trust me, some of their stories behind the scenes are even more disturbing than their works. Boogiepop Phantom is an anime set in a world where the normal and the paranormal are confusingly and mysteriously intertwined. The story takes place in an unnamed city where unexplainable and disturbing events begin to affect the population. Some strange murders of young girls caused great unrest in the city, and very few in the community were left untouched by it. It's been 5 years since these murders happened, and out of the rumors that followed, an urban legend was born, the tale of Boogiepop, a supernatural being who is said to collect the souls of young women at the peak of their beauty, just before they die. When the series begins, a mysterious burst of light hits the city, briefly cutting the power and causing chaos in electronic systems. From that moment on, a strange aurora covers the city. With it come visions and strange powers. The students of Shinyo Academy and Irikubi High School are the most affected. One of them sees insects created from guilt and pain devouring those around him. Others suffer flashbacks of friends and family lost to the unknown killer, flashbacks that begin to take control of their present lives. The rumors about Boogiepop spread wildly. Amidst it all, a girl named Nagi Kirima is determined to fight against those behind the madness, a fight that may end up costing her life. The series itself doesn't follow a clear order. Events shift between 3 timelines: what happened 5 years ago, the events tied to the Pillar of Light, and the present following the strange incident. After the explosion of the Pillar of Light, disappearances and deaths begin again, and the rumor of Boogiepop returns. Could this supposed angel of death be responsible for these new vanishings, or is it something even darker and more dangerous? You might ask, how can all of this be understood? The answer lies in the characters. Each of them experiences these events from their own point of view. There's no single narrator or character who knows everything. Each person has a different perspective on the same reality. Some take the myth of Boogiepop as truth. Others search for the real answers and are willing to fight. And some are lost in their own personal problems, which are indirectly connected to the Pillar of Light phenomenon. Boogiepop Phantom is an anime that dives deep into fascinating topics through a complex and non-linear narrative. It explores identity, fear, paranoia, mental disorders, existentialism, social alienation, supernatural events, the consequences of violence and personal transformation. With its unsettling atmosphere and fragmented storytelling, it breaks genre conventions and offers a unique and thought-provoking experience for the viewer.
そうするつもりだよ。